SEO is one of the best ways that moving companies can drive leads for their business. In this video, I'm going to break down my exact process that I use to improve rankings and visibility on Google. So for moving companies, it's important to look at SEO for a few reasons. So it's one of the only channels that you're not interrupting somebody as they're using their phone or going online. With SEO, someone's going to Google and typing in a keyword related to your services and actively looking for your solutions. So they're going to be typing in movers in city or movers near me. One of those types of keywords where we know they're actively looking for what you offer. And just by doing SEO work and showing up, you can capture some of that demand and some of those potential customers that are already searching for your services. These tend to convert extremely well because these people are in the market and we're not interrupting what they're doing on social media platforms. We're able to get in front of them at the right time when they're doing their research. So really long-term, organic search should be one of your best sources of leads and one of your most profitable marketing channels. If it's not, it's going to be worth looking into some of the tactics that we're going to cover in this video and implementing them in your own business to just maximize your SEO and improve your lead gen. To a minor degree, brand credibility and just authority and trust can get built up. When users see your brand highly in search results, they assume you're credible and trustworthy. And then again, we covered ROI, but SEO can be one of the most scalable and efficient marketing channels for movers because we're not paying for every single click like we do with Google Ads. We can really scale and become very efficient by implementing the right strategies and tactics. So before we get into actual tactics and strategies here, it's important to look at the search results and understand what the landscape is and what the search results look like at the time of recording this video. So there's 5 key elements on the search results. When a lot of people think about SEO in Google, they think it's all one thing, like we just do SEO and that's how we show up. But there's actually 5 different things we really need to be doing if we're going to maximize lead gen. And this is how my system works. We focus on all 5 of these aspects. What I find is when you only do 1 or 2 of these things, that's typically when you run into scenarios where it doesn't work for you. So by implementing these 5 together in a cohesive system, that's how you're really going to maximize lead generation and get the best quality leads as well. So the very first thing in search results, and we're going to go to the search results to look at this, is going to be the local service ads. So this is the ads right here that say Google guaranteed. And the nice thing about these ads is they're pay per lead. So you only pay for phone calls. You don't pay per click. Only 2 brands will show here. So it's a competitive space to get featured in one of these ad spots. But this is one of the first ads I recommend setting up even before the standard Google ads. It's also the very first thing someone's going to see. And again, because it's pay per call, you're guaranteed to get leads. It just comes down to how many can we get and the quality of those leads. And that's where evaluating the data when you start running these becomes paramount. So after that, you're going to get to the standard Google text ads. When most people think of Google ads, this is what they're thinking of. These text ads are pay per click. So anytime somebody clicks on this listing, you get charged a set amount, or not a set amount, it's actually an auction. So the more competitors that bid, the higher the price gets. So this is a pay-per-click auction in these ads, and this will typically be the second thing someone sees before scrolling down the page. So again, we already have 2 different ad types before we even get to SEO and organic results. Then we get to the local map listings. And what you'll see is now there's actually ad serving here as well. So now there's 3 different ads that show up before somebody even gets to organic listings. So this is where these ads become pretty critical. This ad is not a dedicated campaign. There's an extension, a location extension inside of Google Ads that you can add to have your ads be eligible here. And these are definitely worth testing. The maps tend to convert very well and drive really qualified traffic. So by having your ad here, you could be immediately the first brand listed in this map listing. So then we get to the organic results. You'll see these 3 here that are not marked sponsored are organic listings. So you do not pay anytime someone clicks these. The way you actually rank in this is typically through local SEO. Now, local SEO has quite a few components to it, and we'll start covering that throughout the video. But the main thing to do here is make sure you have a Google business profile. You have that claimed and you fill in all the information and it's verified. Then we'll get into some more advanced tactics, but that's really just the bare minimum you need to even be eligible. It's very competitive, but it's really critical to get your organic result here. Then as we scroll down, so this is kind of interesting too. You'll see people also ask questions on a lot of search results. You can target these through blog content and actually be the source that answers this question. You'll see this company here. They have a blog post on the cost of moving in Austin. So this is an additional spot you can even show up on in addition to the organic listings. So all the way down here is the traditional organic SEO listings that most people think of when they think of SEO. So the downside of only doing SEO here is you're about the 5th or 6th thing down the page. Someone has to scroll all the way down here to get to these results. It doesn't mean they won't do it. You will get leads by ranking here, but it's really important to show up multiple times on the first page. Showing up once is not enough. By showing up multiple times with different ad formats, plus the map listings, plus in the question and answer section, and then here organically, the chances of you getting a click go way up, and then the chances of you actually getting the qualified leads and the phone calls significantly increases. So it's really important to understand what these search results look like and the different elements on here. It's not like it used to be where it was just these listings. There's a lot of newer features that are important to take advantage of. You'll also see websites like Yelp and review websites. It's also important to get featured on these, because then again, if someone doesn't click on any of these listings and they go to Yelp, you want to be one of these 10 movers on this list. So again, you have another chance at winning that customer. So knowing the search results is the first step. Once you have a good understanding of how the search results work, the first thing you're going to want to do is keyword research. Now, there's a variety of tools you can use and different tactics, but really at the end of the day, the keywords that are going to matter are typically going to be keywords like moving company in your city or moving company near me, or the city plus the word movers. And you could rearrange the order and change these variations, but those are really going to be your core keywords that you care about most and that are going to drive the most leads. A secondary aspect to that is going to be kind of question-based keywords, or what we're calling more long tail keywords. They don't always have to be a question. These types of keywords are going to be not specific to your location, and these might be people that maybe aren't ready for a mover right now, but you answer a question or target a keyword that when they're investigating just moving and the process, you could have content on different neighborhoods or why you would want to move there. Things like storage and how to move. Checklists work really well. Checklists to help people moving and everything they need to know. So there's a variety of keywords you'll find here, but the most important ones are going to be those local focused keywords. That's where you're going to get most of your leads. Now, once you have all the possible keywords mapped out, what you're going to want to do is take all of those keywords and figure out, do you have an existing page on your website that you can optimize, or do you need to create a new page? The best way I like to figure that out with is taking a look at your keyword rankings. And you could do that either in Google Search Console, which is a free tool, or a paid tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, and see if you're ranking for any keywords in the first 3 to 4 pages of Google. That's a good sign you have the right content on your website. You may just need to do some more tactics to get that to improve. If you're not ranking at all, or you're ranking very low on Google, that's a good sign you need to develop a new page. Now, we'll get into the types of content as well, but I'm going to jump into this keyword research tool here in Ahrefs. What's nice about these paid tools is you can put in a keyword phrase, and you could start to see things like here, which is going to show us related keyword ideas. You also see questions. So how much do movers cost in Austin? Gets 90 searches per month. That's a good, and here's a variation, how much are movers? This is a good indication that you could probably do a blog post on this topic. And people typing this in are still likely to convert since they're trying to evaluate what the cost is going to be. So you could be the one to provide that answer. If I click on this, this is going to show me a lot of the additional related keywords to this phrase here. So we'll see a lot of the core variations with movers. Then we'll see words appended like cheap. We'll see things like specific items. So piano movers. If that's something you move, you could have a service page targeting that. Then we get specific locations. So Dallas to Austin. So when you use these tools, you'll get a variety of ideas here. Commercial is another example, affordable, long distance. So different types of moving people are typing in and searching for. So these are going to be a good way to get some initial keywords. Another way you can do it without an actual tool is you can type in things like Austin moving And then again, whatever your city is, you would replace that. And then you'll see these related terms. Google will give you some examples. So moving companies looks like a good one. If I put a space in, I could see words related to this. I can also scroll down and look at these related searches. So Google's giving me more keyword ideas based on my search here. So you can actually use the Google search results if you don't have a keyword tool to try and find additional ideas that you might want to target. Again, this area's always has good ideas here. And then if you put a space and then start typing in different letters, you could start to see the keywords that Google is recommending in the navigation bar. So that's always a method I recommend if you don't have access to keyword tools. Now, once you have your keyword research done, this is where you start mapping out keywords and figuring out which content you're going to need to develop. Your most important pages are going to be location pages or areas you serve pages. These are the pages where you're going to be able to target different cities. If you only focus on one city, like Austin, for example, and that's really, you're only going to really need that one location page. But if you serve different cities and counties and states, it's really important to have these location pages built out. I like to start first with city pages and then expand into county pages and then go into state pages. Now, you also can do things with features like we looked at. So if you did want to target affordable and cheap, that could be a variation of a page where you have a specific page on your affordable moving services. If you want to target commercial, you would, again, have a specific moving page targeting commercial. Then we also have long distance. We saw piano. All these variations are additional service pages you can develop that will be hyper-focused on that keyword, which is ultimately how you're going to get the best rankings. If we look at some examples here, you'll see they have service areas, and these are their main areas that they service. And they're targeting movers in Austin, movers in Dallas, moving company in Houston. They're able to target those with these location pages. Again, so these are really important for showing up in the traditional organic listings. Then you'll see under services, this is where they're getting into things like we just looked at: piano, long distance, commercial, residential, apartments, all those different variations they're able to target with these pages here. And again, these pages are pretty much a template, so they're easy to replicate. You do need to make the content a little bit unique. You don't want to just change this headline, but things like, we'll scroll down this page to kind of see what they have. They have reasons to choose. They have some of their services. You can see they're actually doing a comparison here and why you would want to book through them. So a lot of different ideas here for content, but ultimately the way you want to create this page is you want to structure it in a way where if this is the only page they see, you have the best chance of getting a phone call and a booking. So everything that they would need, so things like reviews and testimonials are really critical. Having these on the page so the customer doesn't have to search and find it. Again, because if someone leaves your page, most likely they're not coming back and they may go to another company. So you want to have every single thing on here that's going to help them convert. I would actually have this information, the business information, the map, the address at the top of the page, not the bottom here. And then I would move some of this content around. But you really want to think through what's the ideal way to have this page structured where I'm giving my customer everything they need to make their decision and hopefully give you the phone call. If we look at another example, we'll see it's very similar. We have service pages for different types of moving, and then we have location pages. Now, another layer to this, if you really want to get granular, you could do location plus service. So instead of just having these individual service pages, so if we look at like office movers, we're only going to be able to target really one location with this page. So what you could do is you could have these different areas. So we could have an Austin moving page and then office moving and all these different services in addition to Austin. So we could have Austin apartment moving, Austin residential movers, and then do the same thing for these other locations. The way I usually like to determine that is by this keyword data. If people are searching specific phrases like this, and there's people actually searching it, this number here is how many people search per month, then it's important to have a page specifically targeting this. So that's the kind of the next level to the location pages, is actually having locations, and then each location has a service menu with all the different service that you offer in that location. If it varies, if there's some locations that you wouldn't do packing, then you don't need that page for that location. But those two sections here, these two page types, are going to be the most important thing and the first thing you want to work on before you get into blog content or anything else. You really want to make sure you have this thought through and dialed in. So that's going to be how you get most of those kind of bottom funnel searches where you're likely to get leads. Once those pages are created, it's important to make sure they're optimized. Now, in this optimization section, we're going to focus on the key SEO elements that'll help you rank higher. But you also want to think from a user experience and a customer standpoint. You don't want to just optimize for Google and search. You really want to make sure that page, because that's going to be one of your main ways you convince a customer to call you and to drive leads. You want to make sure it's structured in a way and it's written in a way that will encourage people to book phone calls. If you just start jamming in keywords over and over and the content doesn't read well and that just looks spammy and it makes you look amateur, it's an older tactic that doesn't work anymore. It's not needed. If you do that, people are going to land on your page and a lot of them are going to leave and go to another company. So these are the main aspects to think about when we're thinking about optimizing the page. The title tag and the meta description are two of the most important elements, and you don't actually see them anywhere on the page. The title tag is in the browser here. So you'll see this and then the meta description. So if we go to an actual search result, this is the title tag and then this is the meta description. So this is essentially ad copy that's going to help convert people to click on your listing and go to your website, which is the first step to actually getting them to potentially book a call with you. So first thing we need to do is get them to click on our listing. And that's where this copy comes in. So in terms of best practices for this, in the title tag, you usually want to have your core keyword that you're focused on. So it's city plus moving company or movers in city, whatever you're in, or state, whatever you're targeting. That's the first thing you want to do. And then you want to add something that's more compelling in the end. An older strategy, which this is actually pretty good here. So they have the core keyword. They have a big brand. So having your brand on these pages, you don't always need. If you're not a large brand, sometimes you only have 60 to 65 characters. So if you're putting your brand there, sometimes it's wasted space. But because they have a big brand, I like it here. And then you'll see what they did at the end, moving made effortless. So they added something to differentiate them in the search results and to get people excited to click on their listing. If you contrast that with this one, which we'll look at. So this one is using an older style of SEO. You'll see they're just jamming in a bunch of keywords. They do have their brand name, but it's basically movers, South Austin, best local moving services in Texas. So again, this line doesn't add much that this first one doesn't. We're just repeating keywords to try and have kind of stuff multiple keywords in the tag. I'd rather just have one of the core keywords right in the front and then add something at the end to make it compelling. It could be something about if you have a free moving estimate, maybe if there's something you offer, some kind of discounts, 100% online booking could be interesting. You really have to kind of know your market and your customer. What do they value the most? And add that to the end to make your title tag more compelling. Because when you look at this, a lot of these look very similar. So you want to think about this copy in a way so you stand out, so people actually click on your listing. If you do what everybody else does exactly, the chances of you getting a click start to go down. Now, as far as the meta description, this is not as important as the title tag. With the title tag, just by adding your keyword, your rankings are typically going to move up. With this copy, you really want to write this in a way, again, to encourage clicks. So anything you think is compelling, so they're using trusted, local, stress-free move, no surprise fees. You see they're calling out a lot of things the customer would care about, and that's really what you want to do with this text. You could get the keyword in here, but it's not that important. If it fits and it's natural, put it in there. If you're forcing it, I wouldn't do it, and I would just focus on click-through rate. Now, in terms of URL structure, ideally you want to have the locations in here. So we could look at two examples here. So they have moving service areas and then they have the city. I think this works. These guys have locations, Texas movers, and then the city. So a couple options for this. Really, if you're going to have state, county, and city pages, you could go something along these lines. Like I'm just going to shorten this and then whatever the county is. So you could do something like this. And for locations, you have a couple options. You could call it locations. You could just get rid of it entirely. Or you could do like moving services. You could do something like that in the URL. And then you could also then have a commercial moving page, and you could have a bunch of different ones. But then the idea is this would be an actual page, the county would be, and then the city would be. So you want to make sure you don't want to have wasted characters in here. Sometimes you'll see random numbers or different things in the URL. You don't want to do that. You want to make these clean and concise. and then organized. So those are kind of the most important aspects. Then to a lesser degree, header tags and images. So the headers are going to be this. This is the H1 heading, and then you'll typically see additional headings on the page as well. Don't worry about forcing keywords here. In the H1, I like to have some variation of it. But what you'll see a lot of companies do is they just force this exact phrase over and over and over again. You don't need to do that to rank well. So make sure you have some keywords in the heading tags, but really more importantly, make these written well. So when people read this, it doesn't look spammy and look like you're just trying to game the SEO system. You really want to write these in a way so someone will scroll down, they'll consume the content, they'll read the page and have a better chance of booking with you. Now for images, again, lesser importance, but things are competitive, so it's worth doing everything just to have the best chance of ranking. When you upload an image, you want to make sure the URL is optimized of the image, so the file name. So typically you could include a keyword in there if you want. And then the alt text, same thing. That's designed for actually screen readers, but it's still a place you could incorporate keywords. Again, doing that by itself, not really going to do much, but it doesn't hurt. Again, you could write these. Ideally, the alt text is descriptive of the image, so it doesn't just say the keyword in there if it has nothing to do with the image. So use this kind of sparingly when it makes sense. Internal links are really important. So internal links are going to be these here. So basically any of these clickable links that take me to other pages. This is how search engines and users find your other content. Things like this, like linking to your other service, your other city pages are really important on these location pages because you could actually show neighboring towns. And then we're sending Google to these other pages as well to see them. So that's important. And it's also important to link to content from others. So through the blog, you can link to your service pages and your area pages. But it's important to make sure you're doing this in a strategic way and you're adding internal links in all of your content. The next level to it is to analyze which pages need more internal links. The way I like to think about that is the more you link to a piece of content, the more important you're saying that content is. So it's important to think strategically with this. And the actual text matters as well. Ideally, the text is descriptive to the page they're going to go to. So if this says packing services, you'll see it's taking me to a packing and unpacking service page. So that makes logical sense. You want this to be descriptive. And ideally, it gives some relevance to different keywords we're targeting on the other page. And again, we covered content. Always focus on user experience and conversions first and foremost. All this other stuff is secondary. If you can rank #1 on Google, but nobody calls you or you get, or anyone, or nobody books a meeting or sends an inquiry, it's really all for nothing. It's a waste. So we really need to make sure we're thinking about creating pages that are going to convert and having a high quality user experience and a high quality website. So again, these tactics are going to be how you show up in these traditional listings. So now we're going to shift gears into the map results. So for the map results here, and this is really valuable, you definitely want to rank in this area. Your Google business profile is going to be one of the most important things. You need to set that up, get it verified, and fill in all the information possible and really build that out to the fullest. Then we're going to get to citations, which are basically other directory listings. You can use a tool like Bright Local is one that I like, where you can have them build the citations for you, or you can do it manually. But basically, you want to list your business information on a bunch of different directory websites and do that consistently. And that's going to boost some local relevance and show Google you're a real business in the area. After that, getting reviews is going to be one of the biggest things you need to do on a regular basis. And this is something you never stop. On a monthly basis, you really want to have a strategy for how you're going to get reviews from happy customers and increase the number of reviews you have. The more reviews you have, you're building a bigger moat essentially, where it's going to be difficult for competitors to outrank you. If you have hundreds or thousands of reviews and the next competitor only has 5, it's going to take them a very long time to ever catch you. So you're future-proofing your lead generation by really focusing on this. Then local backlinks. So for this, now again, backlinks are going to be when another website links to you, which essentially means they're endorsing you. So if another website links to your moving company website, they're basically endorsing you and telling Google that you're legitimate. The more of those you have from credible businesses and resources, the more Google is going to trust your website. So on the local level, getting these from your local market, either businesses in the area or PR coverage in the area, is just going to boost your relevance and authority in that local market. So those are kind of the essentials there. But by doing these things, you're going to improve your map listings. Now, this is a cool report that you can run. This one's from Local Falcon. Bright Local has this feature. A lot of brands have this feature now, but it basically shows you your location in the center. And then as people start getting further away, where you rank in the map listings. So this brand here is doing pretty well around, they're in position 1 for a lot of their location. But in the northern end of their location, you'll see they're in 3, they're in 5, they're in 20. So there's a little bit of room for improvement here. What you might see is that everything's red and you're not ranking at all. So this is a really important report to run to understand how you're currently doing in this map listing, and then how you're doing as people get further from your location, because proximity is important with this. This report will tell you where you stand, and you could run this for different cities and different markets that you're in. So after you cover those two things and you implement some of those tactics, you'll start to see that you eventually will rank, depending on how competitive your market is. If you keep doing that work, you will rank in this map listing, and then you'll have an organic result. So you'll be featured on the first page twice. The next step for you to think about is launching ads. And that's where I would first launch this Google Guaranteed ad. And then I would launch the text ads plus the location map ad. So you're doing both of those. And that'll really give you essentially, you could be showing up close to 5 times. You could be showing up once here. Then you could be showing up here. Then you'll have your ad plus your organic listing. And then you'll have your organic listing here. So really you'll see how as people scroll down the page, they're going to continually see your brand, and they're only going to see your competitors once or twice. So subtly that reinforces that you must be the best and most trusted brand. If someone sees you every time they scroll down Google, they continually see your brand. That's where the system comes together and becomes cohesive. The biggest mistake I see is people just focus on one thing. Moving companies might only do this ad, or they might only do text ads, or they might only do local SEO, or they're doing none of that and they're only doing traditional SEO. So you're severely limiting the amount of phone calls and leads you're going to get. You're essentially giving those leads to your competitors by not focusing on these 5 aspects. So the hardest part of SEO, and one of the most resource intensive, is going to be related to link building. So we kind of covered at a high level what link building is. It's essentially when another website is endorsing you. So when we looked at these links, these are all what we call internal links, because if you look at the URL here, we're just linking to our own website. If we were to link to another website and I click on this and it takes me to that website, that would be what a backlink is. So your domain authority is kind of the strength of your backlink profile of all the backlinks you have. So this is a tool that'll give us that metric. There's a lot of tools that do this. It's a score from 0 to 100. So this company has a 35 for their domain authority. It's important to understand what yours currently is. If yours is a 0 or a 1, your SEO is going to be a lot harder for you. So it's really important to focus on this. Just like with reviews, how we spoke about that's a moat you're building around your business that makes it harder for companies to outrank you on SEO. Links are the exact same thing. The more backlinks you have and the higher you get your domain authority, the more difficult you're making it for competitors to ever catch you. So you could be years ahead where it's going to be so much work for them to cover ground to catch you that they never end up doing it. So it's really important to start thinking about this and have a plan. And this is one of the things that gets overlooked the most because it's difficult to do and it can be expensive. So in terms of strategies, there's a few things you can do. If you have access to paid tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush, you can look at the exact websites that are linking to your competitors, reverse engineer it, and try and get your business featured on those websites as well. The way you would do that, let's say this company is your competitor. You would go into this tool called Ahrefs and then go to Site Explorer. And we'll just log back in here. Again, you could also go to SEMrush or another website, but we're going to paste their website in here. And then we're going to click on referring domains. These are the unique websites that link to 3Men Movers. And there's about 393 of them. And then you're just going to go down this list and look for ones that might be worth pursuing. I see this Homestead one. I see directories. So those are going to be low-hanging fruit, easy to get featured on. That's where the citation work comes into play. That'll help your local SEO, but it'll also give you a few backlinks. This button here will show me the exact link they have. So if I click on this from Homestead, they have 8 links. And we'll see, this might be a sponsored kind of thing. Let's see. So they're on these listing pages. So if we go scroll down a little bit, let's try to get to something else here. today's homeowner, let's look at this one. So this is a no follow link, which could mean that it's an ad. Let's see, 10 best moving companies. Top pick. Yeah, this could be an ad here, but then there is moving companies here. So it could be worth seeing, can you get your brand featured in this if you're in this market? But that's kind of the idea of just reverse engineering what competitors are doing and then figuring out what you need to do to replicate it. That's only going to get you on par with competitors. If you want to surpass them, you have to look for things that they're not doing. This is where these 3 tactics are kind of my favorite 3 that work consistently. One is local outreach. Again, local businesses and businesses that are geographically relevant to you is going to pass good signals to Google that you're relevant in that city. They're also tend to be easier to get because these people are not getting inundated with requests for backlinks. You have a higher chance of getting these. If you know other business owners in the area and you have people in your network, that's the best place to start. Partners, businesses, different things in the area. Otherwise, PR coverage is going to help you, and that gets into a whole different set of tactics. But the main concept here is think about what businesses or people that you know that have websites that are in your area and start talking to them to see what you can do to get them to link to you. It could be that you write an article for their website, and that's where guest posting comes in. There could be another method to do it, but that's really the first step. Now, guest blog posting is an old tactic, but it still can work. The idea is you're giving a website a free piece of content, a free blog post that they can publish on their website that's credible from you. And in exchange, in the article, you link back to your website since you're the author of that article. This can be done on kind of real estate websites, business websites, really anything somewhat related to what you do where it would make sense for you to write. Real estate and business focus feel like some of the best fits for this, but look for websites that write a lot of blog content and then basically just email someone who works at that company or works on the website and ask them if you could write a free article for them. Now there's different tactics on like writing a good pitch and how to tweak that, but the main thing right now is the concept of doing this. There's also vendors you could pay to do this kind of work for you that have relationships already built. So that's another thing that's worth looking into. If you go that route, just be careful and vet them. Sometimes what you'll get is you'll get a lot of low quality backlinks that are not going to help you. If a backlink is really low quality and it's not relevant, at best it does nothing and you wasted money and time. And at worst, it actually hurts you and actually makes your rankings worse. So be careful of that. Do your due diligence and just make sure you're vetting whatever company you're using to help you with backlink building. Now, resource links, the concept here is creating a really good piece of content that other people are going to want to link to. This is the most scalable and the most cost effective. It also can be one of the hardest to do. Things like statistics and data work really well. If you have custom statistics on moving or even a certain city, like it could be in the Austin example, it could be statistics about Austin as a city. As people are researching for their own article that they're writing about the city, they might type in statistics about Austin and your article shows up and then they link to you as a source. So that's just one example. But creating content that people would want to link to, the reason it's so scalable is you don't pay for every link. You produce the content once and other people are finding it and linking to it. But the challenge here is making something good enough. And that's where really the right strategy and process are important. But these 4 tactics will get you very far. Now, in terms of technical SEO, we're not going to cover this super deep, but these are some of the biggest things that I see. Making sure your website loads fast. So this is important. You could use a tool from Google called PageSpeed Insights. So if we go to PageSpeed Insights, this tool, and we'll scan this page here. You could scan any web page you want, and it'll basically tell you how it's performing. And you can see the same report on mobile and desktop. So this one, it's showing us failed the core web vitals assessment. But when I look at this, it's actually doing pretty well for most of the benchmarks. These 2 are a little bit off, but this is one of the things when you're close enough, the incremental gain you'll get from trying to get a small amount of time off these things isn't usually worth the effort. This one, yeah, it could be a little bit better. You're in that needs improvement area. You're not in the red, but this is where you have to evaluate if you can do something. We'll diagnose what the issues are and give you some recommendations if we scroll down. Like here, it's basically telling us what we can do to try to improve. Again, you can't always fix these things. Some of it you just have to live with. Like certain scripts you might be using, like this Google Tag Manager. You need that for your analytics. So you're not going to be able to remove that. Hotjar is like a heat mapping and user engagement tool. If you're not using it, it's worth removing. But if you are using it, there's nothing you can do. But it is worth auditing your tags and kind of what you have on your website. There might be old tools that somebody installed that nobody's using anymore, and then you can just get rid of those to improve your page speed. So this will give you some recommendations. Mobile optimization, this is a standard nowadays, but you want to make sure your site's optimized for mobile. Google uses the mobile version of your website to rank your website. So it's really important that it works well on mobile, the user experience is good. And for conversions as well. Most people are going to be on mobile when they're doing research. So this is just critical to having any chance at ranking. Then there's small things like making sure your website's secure and HTTPS. This gets into the weeds a little bit, so we're not going to cover some of these things. Making sure Google can index your content. One way you can check if a page is indexed is by deleting the first part of the URL and typing in site with a colon. And when you enter, the page that you just did should show up here. If I do something like this, you'll see there's nothing because this is a fake page. But if this was a real page, this would tell me Google has not indexed my page, which means you can't rank or get traffic. So then you're going to want to diagnose why that is. And there could be a number of reasons for it. But the main thing is speed and mobile optimization. And then there's a lot of nuance with technical SEO that you can get into. But that's going to cover you 80% of the way there. So next, now that you have tactics, you're going to want to make sure you're measuring and tracking your data in the right way. And this is where analytics tools like Google Analytics 4, Google Search Console, and various tools come in. These tools are going to allow you to track your website data and also track leads and phone calls. Now, if you want more granular phone call tracking, you can use a tool like CallRail or What Converts. Those are two different tools, softwares that will give you really granular phone call tracking, where you can see exactly if you're running ads, which keyword is driving phone calls, or you can see how organic compares to the ads. And you might find that a certain source of marketing is leading to most of your results, and you could shift your budget around into those efforts. So the investment in analytics is really important. It's going to make all the marketing you do better. And it's the only way you're going to be able to evaluate your marketing and understand what changes you need to make to actually improve performance. And the reallocation of budget is so critical because in the beginning, you're going to be doing a lot of different things. We look at those 5 tactics on the search results. You're going to want to know what the top 2, 3, or number 1 marketing path is. So the analytics are critical. In terms of KPIs, which are key performance indicators, which are essentially your most important metrics that tell you how you're performing, it's really going to be leads. So it's going to be form submissions and phone calls primarily. Or if someone can actually book a move through your website, we'll also have bookings in there as well. Those are really all that matters. Traffic and engagement is secondary. You really want to focus in on your lead metrics and where those are coming from and how you can improve those. But it's important to know what metrics you're going to track if you're going to want to analyze what's actually working. A lot of people skip that step, and then they're not sure what to look at or what data point to use to evaluate what's working. You want to know that in advance. Otherwise, you won't know what adjustments to make. You won't know if your ads are working or if your organic's working. If you have KPIs and metrics in place, then you'll know if you're exceeding or below your benchmarks, and you can make adjustments accordingly. Nothing's ever going to work perfect right away. So you have to use the data to make the adjustments to get it to the point where the marketing is profitable. If you expect to launch one campaign and immediately get a good return on it, it's not going to work. So the data is critical. You need to have a strategy and think through that. So finally, you have all this information. You can take this and implement it, but there's always the question of, should you do this yourself? Should you hire an in-house team, or should you hire an agency or consultant? And really, there's just a few factors here. If you're going to do it yourself, the best case scenario for that is typically if you have more time than money. So if you're just starting out and you're trying to grow and kind of bootstrap your business and you don't have a lot of money to invest, then you need to learn this and do it yourself and get it to the point where you're getting enough leads where now you have the revenue coming in that you can hire either an agency or an in-house team member. So that's step one. If you have money coming in, you have your business established, spending your time on this is going to take away from other things you could be doing to actually run the business, the operations, and grow it. So it's important for you to be involved in the process because marketing and lead gen is central to your business. You don't want to set it and forget it and not look at it, but there's better uses of your time. So then that brings you to whether you hire an in-house or hire an agency. Now, if you're going to build an in-house team, You're going to run into a lot of challenges with that. Long term, it's a great option. If you could bring your marketing in-house over time and have that functionality and capability inside your business, that's going to give you a lot of value. But it's very hard to build that just by hiring. You're going to need to spend a lot of money on someone who really knows what they're doing. And a lot of those people are either doing their own work, have their own business. So it's going to be challenging to just hire that right away, especially because you won't have any processes or systems in place. So that's where I like to lean on agencies and consultants. You can get results right away. You could leverage their proven process and systems, and you could even learn from them and be transparent about it. But if you tell your agency your goal is to bring this in-house, your agency or consultant can work with you on slowly offloading work to your internal team and building that up. That could be one of the best ways to blend the two, where you bring in the agency for their specialized expertise and process. They start training your internal team, and now you have a good synergy of the agency with the high-level strategy and some of the execution being able to be done in-house. It's going to be more cost-effective. You're going to save a lot of time, and you're going to get results faster. So that's typically the route I recommend. But this is important for you to think through and think about your situation, your business, and then this is something you could adjust and change over time. So with that, what I'm offering here with these videos is a free analysis. So it's not just an analysis of keywords and what's happening. It's going to be the exact game plan of what you need to do to improve your rankings. It's going to be specific to your moving company. So I'm going to go through all the different things we just looked at, do all that work for your company, and you're going to have a complete blueprint of exactly what you need to do to improve your rankings. And this is, for anyone who's watched this video, is completely free. Just leave a comment, or there's going to be a link in the description here where you can click on that link and it'll take you to a form where you're going to just fill out that form. And again, I'm going to give you the blueprint, the exact roadmap you need to do. And then there's no obligation to work with me. You can take that and implement it yourself or hire someone to do it, or you can work with me as well. But either way, this is going to help you get started and get some traction and improve your lead generation right away.